Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and to our ongoing study in Wolfhart Pannenberg and Volume 1 of his Systematic Theology. We are going to take a look at Part 4 to the chapter on God as Triune, and we'll get a look at the continuing development of how the church scholarship engaged with the doctrine of the Trinity. Let's go to Block 1. We'll get started. The minimal ecumenical push, the decay of Trinitarian doctrine onto German idealism and modern liberalism, and the developing struggle with Trinitarian doctrine. We look at Abraham Calovius, 1612 to 1686, and he dealt with doctrine as dogmatics. He was a 17th century Lutheran theologian, and he sought to minimize the core articles of faith in order to try to find a shared agreement to unite Lutherans, Reformed theologians, and Catholic theologians. He posited a strict Trinitarian dogmatics. God is one essence in three distinct, indivisible personhoods. The Trinity is God's self-consistent presentation of the unity of God, revealing himself in Christ. So, very much in agreement with Nicaea in 325 AD. But then we get to a point in the development of doctrine where we start getting into idealism and this idea of we begin all doctrine by recognizing God as absolute spirit. Block 1, Note 2. This began with Gotthold E. Lessing, 1729 to 1781. He was a German philosopher, German theologian, but he did concentrate on art and aesthetics. The Father begets the Son from eternity. Lessing strongly influenced G.W. Hegel, strongly influenced German idealism. The Trinity became an expression of God's self-understanding. Well, that's phenomenology. That's exactly what Hegel wrote, was phenomenology. It's a phenomenology where God's self-understanding is a self-understanding presented in actual history. It's united with history and a historical look at Trinitarian doctrine. So we've got Hegel's self-differentiation of God within history and the challenge from Schleiermacher and liberalism. Remember, Schleiermacher, 1768 to 1834, the father of liberal theology. Now, his liberal theology was challenged by the Protestant doctor of the church, Karl Barth. Schleiermacher did not start with God as spirit. The Father eternally begets the Son and pours out the Spirit. The Trinity is revealed in the self's unity with God through Christ. Notice that he takes it to subjectivity and not objective reality. This is liberalism. This is Schleiermacher's liberalism. Karl Barth opposed Schleiermacher because he was a pastor who could not give genuine help to his congregation with liberalism. He said that many times in interviews. He said, well, I turned away from liberalism because it couldn't help the people of my pastorate under my pastoral care. So Karl Barth became a very conservative, neo-Orthodox doctor of the church who opposed Schleiermacher and liberalism. So let's take a look at Karl Barth. That'd be block 2. The great Protestant doctor of the church, Karl Barth, who stood against Schleiermacher's liberalism. Karl Barth, 1886 to 1968, a Swiss Reformed theologian. 1932 to 1967, he wrote his multi-volume Church Dogmatics. I have 10 of those volumes. I don't have the whole thing. I couldn't afford the whole thing. I have 10 of his volumes. It's massive. It is a tremendous work. He posited a view of the economic Trinity. The Trinity represents 3 modes of God's saving economy of salvation, said Karl Barth. God's eternal being is triune from all eternity. God is triune from all eternity. And then it becomes concrete as God's economy of saving love. And this was a view shared by Hegel. Barth posited that there is a substantial equality within the triune Godhead. Barth opposed anybody who tried to make the Son or the Spirit subordinate to the Father. There can be no subordination, said Barth. He posited a triune Godhead of co-equality and co-substantial, co-equal, which is the conservative Protestant position, even today. Co-eternal and co-substantial. Now, the doctrine of the Trinity does come with warnings because of some of the things that Barth faced in liberalism. And so we're going to look at block 3. We're going to look at the warnings that we need to keep at the forefront whenever we work out our own personal struggle with the doctrine of the triune Godhead. Block 3, witness to revelation and the economy of salvation are the foundation to a genuine doctrine of the Trinity. We must negate, here's the warning, we must negate modalism. There are some who deny the co-eternal personhoods by declaring that the Father and the Son and the Spirit represent adopted modes of the one divinity. It denies the mutual interaction within the Godhead. That's called modalism. Well, if you deny the interaction of personhoods within the Godhead, that's the foundation of looking at God as love. So modalism is heresy. The other heresy is subordinationism. It claims that the Son and the Spirit are inferior and subordinate to the Father. They are not co-equal in ousia essence. We are to negate modalism, and we are to negate subordinationism. So block 3, note 2, there can be functional subordination with regard to the economy of salvation, but not subordinate in being, not subordinate with regard to essence. The doctrine of the Trinity should be based on the witness to revelation and the economy of salvation. That is, so what we find here in this lesson from Pannenberg is the warning to don't, as we wrestle with the doctrine of the triune Godhead, don't let the heresy of modalism slip in, because we must affirm the interaction of the triune personhoods within the Godhead. We can't allow modalism to enter in. And subordinationism, we must negate any doctrine that says that the Son and Spirit are inferior to the Father, because we believe what was established all the way back in Nicaea, AD 325, that the triune Godhead is 1 ousia essence and 3 hypostasis personhoods. Remember, hypostasis, hupa is under, stasis is existence. Under the category of existence, God is three. Under the category of essence, God is one. We believe in a triune Godhead of one ousia essence and three hypostasis personhoods. That is a common definition that has been agreed upon for hundreds of years. And even though there are particular engagements with the doctrine of the Trinity by theologians over the years, there's no denial of that basic definition. That basic definition always does hold. But in this lesson, Pannenberg, who was a student of Karl Barth, wants to affirm Karl Barth. Block 2 is the core truth of the lesson. Pannenberg affirms the theology of Karl Barth, a reformed position. Barth proposed a view of the economic Trinity. The Trinity represents three modes of God's saving economy of salvation. God's eternal being is triune from all eternity. God's being becomes concrete as an economy of saving love. There's one substantial equality within the triune Godhead. Barth says there is no subordination. There is no subordination. He posited a triune Godhead of co-equality, co-substantial, co-equal and co-substantial persons of the Trinity. There is no room for any heresy of subordination. We have to guard against that. That's really what Pannenberg is reminding us, that modalism and subordinationism must be denied with regard to the doctrine of the Trinity. We have warnings of heresy that can creep in. We have to remember that we were talking about a doctrine of the Trinity based on revelatory witness and the historical economy of salvation. And I agree with that, especially the historical economy of salvation. That's pretty much what Hegel is all about. Remember, Hegel was all about a system of art, religion, philosophy. We begin with evaluating life from the through the filter of art and representation. Then we move on to the level of a concept through religion and signification. We discover truth as signs. And then those signs are posited in historical reality as formal self-realizing concepts. So it's for Hegel, his position was symbol, sign, concept. Symbol, sign, concept. Artistic symbol. Religious sign. Philosophical concept. And that was his basic structure to his phenomenology, which is basically a study of how does human consciousness become imprinted with Christ. How does human consciousness become imprinted with the speculative Good Friday? Hegel posited that idea of the speculative Good Friday. His position was Christ-centered. That's why I really do appreciate Hegel. His phenomenology is very difficult to study. I've gone through it multiple times, but you have to read secondary literature on Hegel. He's really very, very difficult, but I do agree with his position, and this channel does have a seminar on Hegel's phenomenology. We did do that. It's on this channel, and I go back to it sometimes just for review, but we have done a seminar in this Life Group channel on the phenomenology of spirit by Hegel. But this is a very good lesson where Pannenberg wants to support his professor that he studied under, Karl Barth,